Hi, I'm Heather Quick with the Florida Women's Law Group. Thank you for joining us. Today's topic is collaborative law. And we've talked about it before on this series, and today we welcome Dr. Mercedes McGowan, who is a psychologist and is very active with the collaborative law movement, which helps individuals through divorce. And of course, I'll let her explain in more detail, but we're just going to ask some questions so that you can become more informed about it and understand the process a little bit better, because I don't think it's as widely known here in the Northeast Florida area as...
It's not here, right?
Right, and it's not here. It's very popular in other parts of Florida and out west, up north. I mean, it's not just a local thing at all.
It's new. It's relatively new here locally, but it's very popular across the country. And I'm excited to have it really taking off here.
Yeah, it's exciting. So tell us a little bit about it, Dr. McGowan, for our viewers.
So in describing sort of like the elevator speech of collaborative divorce is kind of, I would describe as a kinder, gentler, out-of-court process to help families resolve their issues in a divorce. Could also be used in a paternity case or other kinds of family law cases in a private setting with complete confidentiality. You're led by a team of professionals that include 2 attorneys, mental health professionals such as myself, and in most cases when needed, a financial expert that are all neutrals. The mental health and the financial are neutrals. They're trained to empower the family to make decisions about their family moving forward post-divorce, post-dissolution, to focus on what truly their interests are, what their children's best interests are, learning how to communicate better with each other, learning how to preserve those relationships as best as possible post-divorce, and bonus, to try to control their costs as best as possible.
Which sounds like a really rational, reasonable thing to do.
Isn't it? It's very exciting.
So let's explain, kind of just break it down. How do they even, so we're doing the video, so maybe some people are watching it and thinking, I know I need a divorce and maybe I'd rather do it this way. How do they start? What would be the best way?
So what I would recommend the best way to do is to go into our website, collaborativecfl.org, and we have a list of the collaboratively trained lawyers who are here locally. And you could go through, it's links to their website, their photographs, a little information about them, maybe interview some of them or go meet with one or others and hear more about your particular collaborative lawyer. And then you would go to your potential spouse and propose the idea, or maybe the 2 of you could go together on the website, each of you pick someone. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is pick 2 lawyers that are collaboratively trained. At that point, each of your lawyers will come up with what we call a participation agreement, which is a contract that outlines the concept of collaborative law, that it's confidential, that there's complete transparency, where all parties agree to, when I ask you for your financials and all your bank accounts, you have signed a contract saying that there will be no hidden money, that you will provide what's asked for in a timely and respectful manner. So the participation agreement is signed, and then the team is put together. It's the mental health professional is chosen and the financial professional is chosen. And then we meet in a series, it's almost like board meetings, where we schedule a series of meetings with the mental health professionals sort of moderating the meetings and coming up with an agenda so that there's nothing sprung on you. Right. This week we're going to discuss division of assets, and we go through and everyone has agreed to do it in a respectful way. That doesn't mean you like each other. It's not all kumbaya. This doesn't have to be only divorces where they like each other, but it's divorces where you agree that it's in the best interest to do this as amicably and collaboratively as possible. And you've got that team where they are completely dedicated to that outcome of preserving the family as best as possible during the dissolution.
And we talked last week with Vanda, who is an attorney at our firm who is collaboratively trained, and about that, because I think it's really important for basically the general public, for men and women to know they don't have to be wanting to continue to be best friends. Like because it's a difficult time. This is just a different way to do it, right?
Absolutely. It's a different way of doing it. You don't have to like each other. You don't have to agree to be best friends, but you have to agree that you want to do it a different, better way. And it's particularly helpful if you've got children, because if you want to preserve that ability to co-parent, this sets you up to at least not have that increase in animosity that a litigated divorce will cause. It's also really good in high net worth or family businesses where you want privacy. You have complete privacy. Things are not being filed that are public record in court. It allows you to keep this as a private process for your family.
Which is a huge benefit, because there are cases where even, and you and I have been involved, and all the attorneys would agree and ask the judge, like, can't we just seal this file? And the courts can't do it. I mean, we have the Sunshine Law, and they may not see everything, but as we know, in the digital age, there's a lot out there. And the privacy, I think, as we were talking even before we recorded, is huge. And we really need to emphasize that, because that is something you're not going to get in the divorce process. Although you're not going to be in a large courtroom where, strangers are coming in, but it's online.
It's online.
And, people can request access, lots of people, and to the financials. And one thing we didn't talk about, but I have met many individuals who are adults now, and they're like, oh yeah, my parents' divorce went all the way up to appeals. I've seen it all.
Right.
That they went through. And I thought, wow, if you had that opportunity to shield those things from your children, down the road.
Absolutely. And that's one of the wonderful things about this process. I feel like it allows you to control your destiny in a way that no other divorce process does. Even mediation, I feel like it's not, while mediation is less detrimental to the family than a litigated divorce in most cases, this sort of takes it to the whole new level where you actually have a team of people dedicated to helping you do this in a way that isn't as damaging to the family.
And even with, mediation, getting to that point, we've still had to litigate. So we've still had to file things publicly. And sometimes it can be expensive, and I think the expense is financial and emotional, because really emotional, you can't put a dollar on, and it lasts for a long time.
Right.
And it can really damage things, because, my parents were divorced, and when I was younger, but then, and that was a long time ago, and they were really young, but it's hard to think about it at the time, but it's like there are weddings, there are going to be grandbabies, this is not just over after this, or when they just reach 18.
Right.
It's just a whole nother world that if you, I think, from your perspective and those doing collaborative law, that if you can preserve some of that, it's going to be better for you and generations.
Absolutely. And that is part of the goal of the collaborative process, to maintain those relationships as best as they can be maintained. And at the same time, having a mental health professional sort of moderate, we also moderate the attorneys. The attorneys kind of slip into litigation mode, and it can be my job to say, can I speak to you outside when you use those words, and so it sort of helps the whole team to stay on track.
And diffuse it, because we can still advocate for the client in the collaborative process, but we can do it in a way, I think, one way it was described to me when we decided to incorporate that into the practice, it's really, I think, almost even advocating more so for your client to get to the best solution, but it's just a different way, like we talked about.
Absolutely, and that's that you definitely need to make sure we emphasize, is that you do have your own attorney, that your attorney is 100% advocating for you. You're not giving up the right to fight for what you want. You just fight for it in a respectful way.
And in a private setting. Where, one of the things sometimes we'll spend a lot of time and money on getting documents. Now, is it the husband that's not giving them? Is it the attorney? Where's the breakdown in communication? From our side, we don't know. All we know is we need certain financial information, and when we don't get it, the best way to do it is to go to court. And that's the only way. I mean, frankly, when we're doing it in the traditional setting, that's how you get things done. You go to court, you ask the judge. And I know when I was talking with my attorney here, we're like, wow, if the collaborative is just getting the documents, the financials easier without all that fighting, we can just make so much more progress quicker.
Exactly. Oh yeah, the way it works in a collaborative divorce is we sit down at the first team meeting and say, okay, what do we need? We make a list. You have an assignment, you have an assignment. This is who you send it to, and this is who's going to process it, and it's just done, because that's what they've agreed to do.
And I think I guess the biggest tip is if I think parties, most of the time, they agree, hey, we're divorcing. They agree to disagree on being, married life. Like, we agree to divorce. And the way we need to help people understand it, it's just agreeing to do it a different way.
Exactly.
Is all it is. You can still get divorced. You don't all have to spend the holidays together and, like some of the shows on TV, all this stuff that's made up that you're thinking, is this what I have to do? Because I don't like this person anymore and I don't want to do that. But that's not what we're asking them to do when they're going to collaborative divorce.
Not at all. Not at all. And again, collaborative divorce doesn't necessarily mean you're best friends and you like each other and it's easy. I mean, some of the collaborative divorce meetings can be very difficult. There's a lot of emotion. Mm-hmm. That's why the mental health person is in the room to manage those emotions. But you're still getting a divorce, and there's a reason for it.
Right. And I just want to touch on briefly with the children, because I think that's a really important aspect of having someone like yourself involved in the process with, husband and wife there too. So can you then bring everybody in together or really help work out some difficulties or maybe any issues that are going on with the children?
In terms of bringing the children into the process?
Into a counseling session, maybe not like the meetings or anything, but, kind of, sometimes when going through divorces, and it's just, the traditional way, they fight over everything, and even who can see the children from a standpoint of, I think the child needs therapy. I think the child needs to have a safe place to talk. I think you probably can have a lot of influence in helping that happen.
Absolutely, and that would be a team discussion. That would be a team agreement on who that person is. There wouldn't be dueling experts. It's agreed upon who is the person who's going to see the children. Mm-hmm. The other part that I didn't mention that is a huge benefit with children in a collaborative divorce is typically what happens is the parenting plan is developed with the mental health professional and the two parents. The attorneys aren't in the room. It's a separate meeting that's scheduled. Now, nothing is put in stone in writing, but the mental health professional, with their background on child development, that kind of thing, will go through and help them discuss what are their options, how do they do it, and comes up with like a general format of the parenting plan, which again, a huge cost savings, because our hourly rate is much less than the attorney. So when you have So to meet with a mental health professional, come up with that parenting plan that then's brought back to the team where, of course, the attorneys review it, and of course the attorneys say you didn't think about this and I don't like that, but you do it in a therapeutic mental health setting, which is really the most appropriate setting to look at your child's best interests.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that for the most part, all parents, that is what they want. They just get caught up sometimes in a lot of other stuff. Right. And unfortunately, I think our system works great compared to, what our options are, but this is just a different way because, and even in mediation, we don't have a mental health professional there, and everybody's emotions on what's going to be the better schedule or how this is. I think that's an added aspect that we really can't in the typical divorce. We can't make that happen. I mean, we can't, or in where both parents are involved.
Right.
In making that.
In that decision. The other, mentioning mediation, the other differences in mediation, in a lot of cases, you're going 8 hours late into the night, making decisions that in the end, I can't tell me how many people come to my office and say, I just wanted to go home. I just signed it. I know. These collaborative cases are done. The meetings are generally 2 to 3 hours long at the most, with a set agenda where you know what's going to be discussed. You break, you have time to think, you come back with the next agenda. You're not pressured into decisions. The decisions are made in a very thoughtful way.
And that is important. I think, and a lot of times we have to kind of stop mediations because it does, get to be almost overwhelming. What about time? Let's talk about, I mean, I know we talked about privacy. Have you, in your experience, because you've certainly done a lot of the collaborative divorces, what is the average amount of time that they go, if there is one?
It completely depends.
Okay.
I mean, typically, depending on if there's children, the number of assets that need to be divided, that kind of thing, it can be anywhere from 6 to 12 months or so.
Yeah.
Some can be done in 2 to 3 meetings.
Yeah.
There's a saying in the collaborative divorce: you only go as quickly as the slowest person. So sometimes I've been involved with a case where the wife was very fragile. She asked for the divorce, but still was very emotionally fragile and knew nothing about finances. And it reached a point we thought, well, this is not productive. We took a break for 4 months so that she could go get some therapy and come back ready to make thoughtful decisions. So and that's the beauty, that you can do that in a collaborative case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is different. You can't always get that break for counseling. Hey, let's pause the divorce.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we do, but not as often. So I really appreciate you coming and talking about this today. We're excited to be part of that movement and helping people. At least now, I mean, I think the important thing is they know there are options.
Absolutely.
They have to agree to it, but it might be, even if they can't agree on anything else, if maybe they could agree on divorcing in that manner, it may be better for
Absolutely.
them in the long run. It's one of those, it's worth investing in the beginning because the dividends will pay out over time.
I feel really strongly about it.
I know you did. That's why I invited you here.
I'm so excited about it. I think it's really going to make a big difference in a lot of families.
Well, thank you so much. And if you want more information about collaborative divorce, you heard Dr. McGowan talk about the website, which tells them that again. I'll do the link.
collaboravecfl.org.
Okay. And we'll have the link, of course, on our website as well. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us at the Florida Women's Law Group. And we have the number and website posted. We'll definitely have Dr. McGowan's information. And we do have one of our attorneys here trained in collaborative, so we can work together on this if this looks like something you may want to do.